Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. About 6 topics for this video. The first one has to do with Austria, and the second one with Australia, the third one with Germany. And all these 3 articles are related in a sense, and that shows the rotten so-called neoliberal system ideology that tries to worm itself more and more in our civilization. Remember when these guys in charge of us, the media operatives, when they cannot provide a sufficiently mildly logical answer to something that they want to defend, then they say, well, we don't know why this happened. We don't know why this happened, Why did they attack us? The obvious reason, we know why they attacked us. But then they say, I think they hate our freedom. So they do this. So first, in Austria, there are some elections over there. And the front runner is a far right guy, or the party, far right party. And these guys ask, how in the hell we got here? Well, I can tell you exactly, but YouTube will prove that I should not. Why? If I would say it, you will not see me. So I have to be very careful how I inform you how we got to the fact that the political and ideological pendulum that was pushed too much in one idiot direction goes back to almost the same height. Remember, so the higher you push it on the left, the higher it's going to go on the right on the way back. So this is the reaction, action and reaction. When these baboons started asking, how did we have Trump? How in the hell Trump just came into being? Because of you, baboons. Because of you, partly. You pushed it too much. And people, if they're free and are allowed to freely speak and express themselves, they're going to let you know and vote. So this is Austria. Then we have Germany. Germany arrests people who spread the news. Why? Because the news is illegal if you take it from some media outlets. That's another reason why far right pushes back. And it's not far right. Is people, we have, as humans, we have certain tolerance to pain, or how do you call it, discomfort. We kind of all have. We're in the same region, the same range. So when you push past that, our reaction, instinctual reaction, is going to be to push the other way. So if you try to do something to my family, I think most of us will react kind of in the same way. So there are some, how should I put it, not necessarily instinctual reflexes, instinctual reactions to certain actions. So we have here a German couple arrested for illegal, because it's illegal, RT broadcast. I will tell you. So this is the freedom that we're supposed to defend with our lives in the Middle East and wherever these guys tell us. Who are they? Our elected officials. You vote one time and then they make policies for you and your, future generations for, hundreds of years that you cannot remediate. And the third one, we're going to go to the Australians. Hello. And they protest against, again, Labour Party's Misinformation bill. So these guys try to infringe the free world, free people, so-called, ability to inform themselves or simply be fooled. Remember, when you go, for instance, to a movie, you get fooled over there. You expect that. Well, movies are, a kind of a way of shaping a culture. Because in a movie, let's say you show a baboon being cool and smoking cigarettes and so on, and you identify with that little by little, and you condition the population to identify. How do you think, let's say, the cigarettes were were popular in one certain time in America? Or let's say alcohol. The same, it was portrayed as some cool guys, as let's say Bogart, or Bacall, or whomever, Stewart, drinking some, cool, some brandy or some whiskey or some scotch on the rocks, as my cousins say, scotch on the rocks, and that is. And that create, I like, let's say, Gary Cooper, and drinks that kind of scotch on the rocks, yeah. Oh, one smokes. Very cool. That's how you promote shit. You change a culture. So the same here. These guys want to put a bill in Australia that would fine social media outlets, platforms for misinformation. You know what misinformation is? Well, we're going to discuss that, and what disinformation is. Next one, we're going to talk about the Middle East garbage, and that is the Israelis and the Lebanese. Well, they frame it this way: Israel versus Hezbollah, but they hit. Anyway, we're going to discuss what's going on over there, and I will read a few titles of certain articles so you understand what my position is in that, because we can't, in America with free speech, you can't express your ideas freely, as crazy they could be, as long as you don't violate the law. Remember, this is supposedly a platform. A platform is like a telephone company that provides you a service. Now on this one you can have sex, right? You can organize something illegal, you can make a transaction of a certain kind, and so on. Now the telephone will not stop you, and they will not be liable. The telecom or Verizon or whatever that garbage might be, they were not going to say, hey Emil, stop there, you can't do it, and click, you're done, you're out, you can't use our services. Why? It's not responsible. It's just a platform of allowing you to transfer information. That's the law enforcement's fucking job, to find the crime. All right? But here, no, these guys are monitoring, that is, censor our speech. Therefore, you guys are just pieces of shit. So I can't talk too much about, but I'm going to give you a few titles and you understand what's going on over there. And I will be mild in telling you a little update on these guys over there. Remember, the genie is out of the box. That is, you can't put it back. You put it in, you don't put it back anymore. That's it. So remember, when you do that, you can't. I will explain. Let's move on. Russia condemns Israel's attack on Lebanon. Clear enough for you? And then we're going to show you how Prime Minister Netanyahu, how highly he thinks of you for your support. Next one. Remember that pimp Milei from Argentina, the president of Argentina? I was right, and I will be right as long as I'm not proven wrong, obviously. The poverty rate in Argentina is more than 50%. More than 50%, my friends. Now, what does that tell you? That tells you that the shock therapy works just not fine in Argentina. We find out that Mr. Lukashenko, the president of Belarus, said, if you attack me, we're going to use nuclear weapons on you, regardless who that is. And they have them. Now, how much leverage they have to use them, that's up to the Russians. And then we find out why the F-16s are sitting ducks, according to a Russian Air Force veteran, to the Kinzhals. All right, so let's start with the beginning, which is Austria. And these guys ask, how in the hell we got here? I'll tell you in a minute. So, according to CNN, from an article from today, September 28, 2024, Austria's far right FPÖ party is the front runner in Sunday's election. How did it get here? I tell you. I think that's my opinion. That through unchecked immigration, through economic policies that destroyed your standard of living, probably unemployment, probably the self-identification as what I can be and what I can't be. I think that's the way you got over there. That is, don't fighting for your country, but fighting for whatever you're told by others. That is treason. But let's see what these guys are saying. They always give some very imbecilic arguments. Why? Because they're obvious arguments they will not use. And remember, these guys say far right, and far right has a bad connotation because they want to make it that way. Let me know when you're going to see far left. All right? That tells you. Oh my God, there's not much diversity. First, I don't see any women here. So that tells me this must be a far-right organization. And then I don't see any, you know what I mean, different colors. Again, not very much diversity. Why should it be? This is Austria. Austrians. Austria goes to the polls this Sunday with the populist anti-immigration Freedom Party FPÖ tipped to emerge as the winner in what would mark another gain for the far right in Europe. Why? People are just bad. Unlike its peers, however, the FPÖ is no upstart and has previously been part of coalition governments. The same thing as Mr. Geert Wilders in the Netherlands. As it is unlikely to win on an outright majority, according to the latest polls, the FPÖ, the party would need support from other parties who could instead work together to freeze it out. That means they're happy, these guys, to just calm these guys down. Here's what you need to know. They tell you, CNN, what you need to know. All right, let's see. Who are the FPÖ? And we find out is the grandfather of European far-right parties and peddles an anti-migrant, anti-Islam, Eurosceptic and anti-vax agenda. Why? That means somehow they fooled a big chunk of the Austrian population to believe in those kind of hoaxes. Conspiracy theories. One of their typical provocative slogans once read, and I'm quoting, "Homeland love instead of Moroccan thieves." All right, so you understand what's going on here with these guys. Benjamin, very German name, Biard, a political scientist and research fellow at Brussels-based think tank Centre de told CNN. So this is what we're supposed. They bring this guy who is a very important person, fellow at this, and that he's gonna give us what we need to know. Never trust these guys. Verify. Told CNN that FPÖ shares many characteristics with other leading European far-right parties, naming France's National Rally, the Flemish Vlaams Belang, the Italian Liga della Dutch Party for Freedom, PVV. But there's a crucial difference with Alternative for Germany right here. Unlike Germany's far-right Alternative for Germany, for example, which was formed in reaction to Eurozone policies in 2013, the FPÖ was founded in the decade after the Nazi era and has deep roots in Austrian politics. I think that was founded after Jesus Christ died. Can we use that one? Why don't we use that one? And why do we use these ones? You know exactly why. That's why he is a fuck-up, Benjamin. It has held power at federal level 3 times in coalition with other droppings, making it one of just a few far-right parties in Europe to have done so. On June 9th, the party narrowly won the European Parliament elections in Austria for the first time, taking 25.5% of the vote. Now, the party was founded in, very important, 1956 by former Nazis, but today denies any links to Nazism. How many communists, after the fall of the communists, formed parties? In Romania, in Hungary, in the Eastern Bloc, in Russia. How many? A lot of them. Why is communism more acceptable than other criminal enterprises? Well, because communism was promoted by a guy who was a son of a rabbi. His name is Karl Marx. And then when it eventually enslaved the Russians by stealing their revolution and turning it to a Bolshevik revolution in 1918, non-Russians were in power. And you see, a lot of them migrated and were accepted in other countries on this planet. Therefore, communism, even it killed more than the other ones. I'm not denying, I'm not, defending anybody. These are facts. According to facts, due to the communist regime, about 120-some million people died. Well, that's an evil ideology, don't you think? It was just put in place by some evil guys, but the ideology is good. Can we use the same logic? No? Okay. So they say this kind of things, what were they supposed to do? Like Adolf did? The guys after the war that were in this party? Again, and if you want really to go for, since we're going to talk about Netanyahu and that bunch, remember a lot of people who committed terrorist attacks before 1948. Yeah, it's an attack, a terrorist attack, or certain kind of faction. If you remember, in the Middle East, it was a hotel that was blown up. I'm not going to give you more details. If you know. If you don't, just check. And that part of those guys who were fighting for a certain kind of thing, they became members of a party that was created after that and was in charge of that little shitty country over there, for still is in power. So, I mean, please, that argument doesn't fly with me, at least. All right, so we know these guys are just bad people. That's what you need to know. Now, Germany arrests couple for illegal Russia Today broadcast. So some Germans broadcasted a media outlet that is illegal in Germany. The Germans are free people, and Germany is a free world and free people, supposedly. I remember in Romania, communist Romania, when I was a teenager and a child, when people were illegally listening on their radios to Voice of America and Europa Libera, Free Europe radios, broadcasted from Germany and other areas. Now, at that time, we didn't know that those were funded by the US State Department and CIA and all that. We didn't know that. Then we found out. Well, that was illegal for you to listen to those. Those were banned in Romania. Sounds familiar? And those were the bad guys, the communists, the bad guys. But these guys do the same thing to their own people, but these guys are calling them free people. And then they ask why far right gains popularity. Because of this, a German man and his Ukrainian wife allegedly provided banned Russian channels. The German man. The German authorities have arrested a couple suspected of providing RT and other Russian TV channels to customers via the internet in violation of EU sanctions. EU, not only German here. So they are monitoring your activity. Customers via the internet. The bloc banned almost all Russian media organizations in March 2022, calling them a threat to democracy. Isn't democracy based on freedom of information? That is the freedom I can get my baboonish information from wherever I want. It's only just an example. If we go by someone protecting me from being harmed by the information provided, misinformation provided by others, right? Then who are those guys? What do I believe? They are somehow angels or something? No man should be in charge of another man's ability to get his information from wherever he wants. And if I want to be lied, like, many people in relationships like to be lied. How do I look, honey? Psst, great. Ooh, shit. Oh, and she's happy. Instead of saying, you look like shit, they don't match, baby doll. And she's like, you always like that. Well, you want the truth, or am I to lie to you? Lie to me. Well, we have that widespread, so unless you're not in a relationship, but nevertheless, this is what happened many, many times. So you need some time maybe to get that point. They like to be lied. So what are they going to do? Ban it? And not only that, remember when you go to a dealership, that person sells you this car. All right, that car, let's say, was manufactured. I'm going to give you some easy numbers. $10,000. So let's say it's a Ford. Since I'm going to go and visit Henry Ford's the first grave today, I'm going to make a video over there, Detroit area. So here in Dearborn. So here is the car. The car, let's say, was cost to manufacture it, to make it, $10,000. And the $10,000, this car was shipped to a dealership, private dealership, representing Ford and so on. So they over there, they're not going to send it for $10,000. And they're never going to tell you they paid $10,000 for this car coming from the Ford factory. They're gonna, let's say, ask for it, let's say $30,000, even though they know it's worth $10,000, but they don't tell you that. And they say, well, this is my offer, you take it or leave it. But you know, he knows that's not how much it's worth. You can say, well, in the market, you know this is $10,000. You ask $30,000. They will not let you know that the big difference. Is that a lie? They hide the truth? Ask them and say, how much did you pay when you go and buy a car, a new car? How much did you pay for this from the dealership? They will never tell you how much the dealership bought it, took it from the factory. Why? They're just going to say, I want that price. Okay, I'm going to give you this much over, because it's outrageous how much it took it for and it sells it for. Just check it out. So the same here. When these guys are protecting us, I don't need your protection. I go to a movie to be lied to hours over there. I like that. Why? I imagine I live in that. Or someone will read you a fiction book. That's another lie, because you know you're just in a different world, not in reality. So basically the person tells you some stories. The same here. Why don't you want to hear to Russia Today and Sputnik and others if you choose to listen to them? I don't want anybody to be in charge of what I can listen to or get my information from, my knowledge. All right, the suspects are 37-year-old German and his 42-year-old wife of Ukrainian nationality. Oops, 37, 42. The German Customs Service Zoll announced on Friday they are, and I'm quoting, said to have offered several sanctioned Russian TV channels to their customers via an IPTV service since at least the beginning of 2022. Police in the city of Karlsruhe raided the couple's apartment on Thursday, according to customs statement. They found extensive technical equipment, written devices, and 40,000 euros, $44,686 in cash, all which were seized. It's not illegal. Is it illegal to have cash? I thought you were a free person. Why was that seized? Why was the money seized? As evidence? How do you know that's based on what? Well, that's what you do in an investigation. Well, you don't take my sperm, for a sample. If, let's say, I stole a car, do you? Unless I did something in the car after I stole it. I mean, oh yeah, Emil, but maybe that money came from a transaction. Please, my friends. The couple service presumably included well-known channels such as Russia 1 and Russia Today, Russia Today, German customs says. The district court in Karlsruhe, city in Baden-Württemberg, near the German border with France, has also issued a set seizure order for approximately 120,000 euros in illegal income from the alleged activities. Okay, alleged. All right, we'll find out. So my point is, if it was something illegal, yeah, you get, indicted or so on. But what if they say it's illegal to challenge the narrative given to you by the government? Oh, yeah, it's illegal. Can they do that? Well, it's going to be a law. So what are they going to do? Will you obey the law? But in the same breath, they tell you you're a free person, the freest on this planet. All right, let's move to the next one. And let's go to Australia. Australians protest against Labour Party's misinformation bill. Like for instance, the newspapers are never involved in misinformation. What's misinformation? Misinformation is when you say something and that's not true, but you didn't know it was not true. You didn't know. Now, disinformation is when you provide some information that you know is not true, but you say it. Now, that's a different story. I think in a free world, you should be allowed to be involved in misinformation, disinformation. Actually, those guys over there, when you buy a car, they are involved in disinformation. They will try to disinform you so they can get more profit. Is it legal? Yeah. Why? It's not dangerous to these guys in charge of us. Ideas are more dangerous than those kind of things. Double standard, triple standard, quadruple standard, however you want to take it. So let's see what these guys are saying. On September 12, Australia's Department of Communication announced its intention to introduce a bill in the parliament that would fine social media platforms, the telephone companies, for not doing enough to stop, that is, to censor the spread of so-called misinformation. Who decides it's misinformation? because if you deny certain things, you also get in jail, let's say in Germany, and not only. Even though they don't let you study or provide evidence for your denial. So always think like this: who is the person determining what is misinformation? And if you tell me the truth, why am I not allowed to tell the truth here on YouTube? What do you think? So, all right, please. Tell the truth in certain, subjects. A demonstration is taking place in Sydney, Australia, against misinformation and disinformation bill proposed by the Labour Party. Labour Party is Communist Party. That's how it sounds to me. But hey, led by Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. Are you Albanian? Anyway, if approved, the bill would allow the government to fine digital platforms up to 5% of their annual turnover for not censoring so-called misinformation. However, critics warn the bill will enable the government to crack down on free speech with little accountability. I totally agree. You should not be in the process of monitoring my speech. It's illegal because it promotes this kind of, what I'm talking about. I can't say it in a free world, but I have free speech under the US Constitution. It's such a garbage. But hey, I'm not discriminated against any kind of free speech. No, I'm not. No, I can freely speak on YouTube. So I agree with, it is illegal to threaten someone, all right? To incite violence or create panic. I'm all with that, and including, with minors and all that. I'm all, that it's clear. But other than that, let me be fooled by Putin how much I want. Because I'm fooled by Kamala as much I want. Look at these commercials when you go on YouTube, you see Kamala saying, what? Like, I don't know. That's allowed, but the other one is not. Why? These are not rights that we have. These are temporary privileges. And because if there would be a right coming from our creator, there's not going to be a fucking politician elected or a bureaucrat being able to infringe it. But since they're not, even though in the Constitution clearly said that, I don't know, if you want a Declaration of Independence, let's put it with no. Nevertheless, if there would be rights, you, human being, you can't do anything about it. But they're not rights. They're temporary privileges given to us by some other people in charge of us, like the master and slave. But hey, we are free. Anyway, let's see what's going on here. During a demonstration, New South Wales Member of the Parliament John Rubik, are you Serb? Burned a copy of the Misinformation and Disinformation Bill. The first version of the bill was drafted last year and was widely criticized for giving the regulator, that is censors, too much power to interpret what constitutes misinformation. It shouldn't be whatsoever. It shouldn't be. If there is a spy, if there's a foreign agencies that you can prove and they are, destabilizing, arrest the motherfuckers. Arrest them. They are destabilizing our country. But you have to prove that. You don't just arrest me and say, Emil Kosman is this and that. And then everybody says, how do you know that? Well, FBI said that, and FBI, it's an ongoing investigation. Therefore, it's confidential. You can't divulge the process of the investigation. And we're going to let you about the outcome. And the outcome is going to be, Emil, and you say, how do you know that? We're FBI. We're good people, right? Yeah, we're good people. Why? The movies say so. Oh, my God. All right, let's move to the next one. Here. I'm not going to discuss this too much, but I'm going to read the titles. This is according to Agence France Presse. Terror, panic as Israeli strikes wipe out Beirut buildings. All right. Sputnik. Hezbollah officially confirms death of movement's leader Nasrallah. All right. How? Precision strikes. Correct? All right, let's move on. We have here, again, Sputnik. Live updates. Israeli-Lebanese tensions soar as Hezbollah leader killed in that little thing. All right? And they destroyed. Remember, Lebanon is a sovereign independent country. So is the other one. Now, let's go to the next one. Russia Today. Russia condemns Israeli attacks on Lebanon. The strategy chosen by West Jerusalem will not help. Nevertheless, let's move on. Here, Israel-Hezbollah war, you see, is between these guys, not Israel and Lebanon, no, Hezbollah. Netanyahu, and I'm quoting, did not even respond to US ceasefire deal, pledges to fight full force. He did not even respond. Now, put this in the context and think another country of 10 million people on this planet would do that. The genie is out. How can you stop someone who has nuclear weapons? You can't. You can't. What you can do is just maybe somehow take care of the leadership of that country, the military, intelligence, politicians, not that much, mass media, obviously. Take over about, I don't know, let's say 1,000 people in an hour through a certain operation, and then you go over there and you take their weapons out. And then you wipe everything that they built in order to have the weapons. That's how you do it, and then they will not have those nuclear weapons. Then you put them under a certain restriction and under monitoring. Both sides, not I'm talking about only this. Otherwise, these guys can do whatever they want. Whatever they want. If tomorrow they decided they want to do something to Romania, they can. And they will do, because the Americans cannot stop them. Will not stop them. So very dangerous. He didn't even bother to respond. And remember, here is Russia condemns Israeli attacks. You can't stop that. Who armed them? Who allowed them? Well, look into France for a change, 1960s. And then that coincides with that Oswald who assassinated Robert F. Kennedy. Jesus Christ, John F. Kennedy. Not yet. These guys are working on it, I think. So, I think you understand what I'm talking about here. But when you have something promised to you, only to you, by some, then what do you expect? What if we all have it given to us by the... Gonna do what? How do you solve the problem? We're gonna sit down and say, well, my God gave me this. Well, but my God gave me the same thing. What do? Well, you have to sit down and start reasoning, using logic, chronology of events. No, because this doesn't have logic. From the very beginning, it comes from... Oh, you can't stop these guys. Have you seen the speech of Netanyahu at the United Nations? I was like, oh my God. That's why. That's one of the reasons why. It's one of the reasons why I appreciate more and more and more, fantastically more, the US Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, written in the context of the late, 18th century. But that was then. We have these guys reasoning the same way. And they want the baboons to believe. But they believe in that, or at least they pretend. All right, let's move on. Let's see what Lukashenko has to say. DPA International. Lukashenko threatens use of nuclear weapons and World War III. All right. What are you going to do? The same as... Where are they? Right, these guys. Well, what are you going to do? Anybody's going to get in? We're going to do what? Bad Lukashenko, good Netanyahu. So, the autocratic ruler of the former Soviet Republic of Belarus. From the very beginning, you understand that whomever wrote this article, DPA International, is a hack. Well, Alexander Lukashenko has accused NATO of planning an attack on his country and has threatened to use the nuclear weapons. And I'm quoting, an attack on Belarus means World War II. Well, Jesus Christ, World War III. The Belarusian president said, according to the state news agency. Well, Americans, and I'm quoting, Americans and Poles have already positioned themselves along the border, particularly at the Polish one. We know that the Polish leadership is already rubbing their hands. This is according to Lukashenko. Would you take this threat seriously? I would. Now, let's see what Mr. Milei, the pimp of Australia, does. Australia, the second time. Argentina does to you. And I was right, and I will continue to be right. The shock therapy of a semi-dead body work not. Why? I see the same statements, the same institutions, global banking systems being involved in the same way, the same speech about Australia and the shock therapy for now, and then we're going to have honey and milk everywhere for not doing shit. This was sold to Romania after 1990, after the revolution of 1989. Sold every day. Just take your pants down, bend over, take it from the West, however they want, whenever they want, and so on, how deep they want, and I'm not going to go into more details. All right. Why? Because we need them to come and help us. This was the attitude. And the same, Milei goes to the World Bank, International Monetary Fund to help Argentina. Help yourselves. That's it was then in Romania in 1990, 1991, the attitude was, let's have the Europeans and the Americans come over and help us. Give. Don't say anything, just bend over, do it for them, and then we're going to be all happy. And they did exactly that. And I was like, what kind of attitude is this? Of a slave. Milei is a puppet of the clients. The clients are the guys in north of Argentina, and Argentina is the lady of the night, owned by Milei, who's the pimp. So let me show you how great these guys are doing in Argentina. Sputnik. Argentina's poverty rate surges under President Milei's austerity program. I understand you need that, but I said that's going to be austerity for you, not for them. And it's not a success guaranteed. Argentina President Milei's government brought in a severe austerity program after he took office last December. While aiming to tackle a budget deficit and chronic inflation, the radical reforms have hugely impacted ordinary people's lives in the South American country. Argentina's poverty rate has surged to 53% under the austerity program. 53, 1 in 2. That is a crisis. The figure published by the National Statistics Agency is up from 41.7 in the second half of 2023. 15.7 million people now live in poverty in the country, and around 136,000 jobs have been wiped out since Milei took office. And the same is here from Agence France Presse. Poverty rises to over 52% in Milei's Argentina. This guy, Elvis in profile. Again, rose to over 52%. What can you do, right? In the first 6 months of self-declared anarcho-capitalist Milei. And if you look probably somewhere, you're going to find the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, because these guys are the guys that are going to supposedly help you. Now, this is my prediction that I made about Milei in Argentina, and I will keep making. It is based on possibilities and probabilities. I think that Milei probably has 2 chances. One, this thing somehow succeeds, and he's going to use this. We're almost there. In Romania, we were sold this. Luminița de la capătul tunelului. In translation, would be like this. The little light from the end of the tunnel. I can see it. So you keep being because I can see it. Hold on a little bit longer. Hold it. How much? I can see the little light at the end of the tunnel. This how the baboons were told in Romania in 1990s. And they saw the light. They saw something else. Green lights by being fucked all day. Jesus Christ. Yes, I'm very sour about that, because it was one of the reasons why I ended up in the greatest country in the world, that these guys want to fuck up now. And I can't let that happen. At least, with my timid, resources, I'm trying to fight for some others that don't fucking fight for their rights. And it happened in the college. Why do I show over there? Anyway, in college, in university here, I was arguing with the communist professors over there, and the Native Americans were doing what? Checking their laptops, buying underwear, shoes, and garbage. And I was like, I'm the fucking immigrant here, fighting for your country. And I was fighting with, usually it was the communist, a baboonish, and 2 minorities. Native minorities, not like me, immigrants. You know what I'm talking about? Always about this. And I was like, I'm fighting for you? No, I was fighting for me, but I was surprised at that time. At one point, they didn't back me up. They didn't even care about the conversation. So I saw that in Romania as well. All right. Luminesa de la Capital Tunelli. And it worked. The same will work in Argentina. So the first one, these guys maybe after a while, let's say 10 years, 15 years, will reach that little light and realize it's just a spark. Not a big fire, just a spark. And that's it. By that time, their country will be under total economic, military, political, and cultural occupation by the same guys who occupy currently Romania. The same forces, the same guys. And you're gonna eat more something that you don't know exactly what you eat. It tastes like food, looks like food, smells like food, smells like food. But what it's in there, you can't challenge, because the companies that are providing the food to you, you can do it, because then YouTube will ban you because you attack, the big interest. So that's what's going to happen. It's one. And the other one, the Argentinians will have an uprising with the help of the military and will out these guys and will take their country back. And they will be, independent, but not that rich. Because the option is like this. You eat better, but you're in a cage. Or you don't eat that good, but you're free. Remember, you have a domesticated, let's say, goat. It's going to be fat and good, so you can cut it. But it's going to be your goat, it belongs to you. Versus a, let's say, mountain goat. It's not going to be that fat, but it's going to be independent. Which one you want to be? A lot of people just want to be like that. But then, you know what happens to them. So again, all that needs is the Argentina's military. If they decide this guy goes, and then the Americans will be upset, will impose sanctions on Argentina. And then you're going to be independent, but not with the Americans. But you can go back to BRICS, to the Russians and the Chinese. And you're going to be independent and not that fat, or in a cage and fatter. Why? Because of the hormones from your food. All right, let's move on to the last article and find out why the F-16s are vulnerable to Kinzhals. Obviously, this is what a Russian Air Force veteran on Ukrainian F-16's weak spot. There's no place jets can hide from Kinzhals. These are F-16s. Look at this baboon. My God, Jesus Christ. And I'm quoting, an airplane is not a needle in a haystack that's hard to find. It's a metal object that can only be shoved onto a protected aircraft shelter if available, he says. So, but again, the concrete shelter offers light protection. If one of our Kinzhal missiles were to detonate nearby, the shelter would collapse like a house of cards, this guy said. As far as I am aware, I'm quoting, Ukraine received only 6 F-16s to date. They lost one themselves, shooting it down by accident, that's unproven yet, using a Patriot and killing their own pilot. As for strikes against our territory, sending F-16s to destroy our ammunition depots situated far from the border zone requires coming closer to our air defenses, of which we have plenty along the front. Both Panzers and various SAMs, as well as fighters capable of destroying air targets at distance up to 300 kilometers, the observer noted. In other words, they've launched an ordinary PR campaign designated to improve their military's fighting spirit, and perhaps someone will succumb to it psychologically, the guy said. But the hard reality is that knowing the coordinates, it's possible to destroy any target at any airfield. The Kinzhal, which flies 10 times the speed of sound, is impossible to shoot down. The fact that there were now reportedly destroyed 2 of these planes at Starokonstantinov is only the first shot in the battle, according to this guy. Therefore, the fact that they plan to increase the number of F-16s to Kiev to 80, please let them go ahead and do so. That's squadrons, or just a drop in the ocean compared to the NATO client states' needs for continued proxy war against Russia. This guy summed it up. Well, everything he says is valid to Suhois and MiGs and Eurofighters, Typhoons and Saabs, whatever. Okay? So, yeah, if you know the coordinates, you can destroy everything you want, including an airplane, but I think he's right, but the same is true for the other ones. If you know where the MiG is, on it. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.